But right now, we welcome to the show State Representative David Lucas. And David, welcome to the program, sir.
Glad you're here.
Yes, good to see you.
Glad I got a chance to be here.
Well, you're welcome to walk in this studio anytime you want to, because we really need to hear from people like you. You know, being a state representative,
sure.
You're just that. You are our representative in Atlanta, and we need to know what's going on. What do we need to know? And throw out what exactly are the concerns going on here in Middle Georgia right now?
Yeah, the things on top of your mind, what you think we basically need to talk about today, Dave.
Well, the SPLOST is the biggest thing that's happening right now in Macon, and I think people need to understand there is a law that's on the books. Georgia Annotated Code 48-8-115, which says that if you do not have an intergovernmental agreement, that's the cities and the counties on agreeing, and you call for the SPLOST, a level 1 or tier 1 project would be the first thing funded. It's in black and white print. The argument has come because the city wanted to do the service delivery strategy first. Now that is under Georgia Annotated Code 36-70-20, and what that says is by October of this year, at the end of October, they must submit a plan to the state providing how the city and the county pays for services and the duplication and what have you. Now, if that is not submitted to the state, come January when we might give grants out and stuff, the city of Macon and Bibb County won't be eligible for any state grants. And that happened once before, you know, when we did not have an approved tax digest with the state. We had put monies in for the Douglas Theater and those kind of things, and they could not get the money. Consequently, when the economy turned down, that money was still there, so it kind of just lapsed over, and we never did get that money. So the state has some requirements about things, but I think the most important thing is people need to understand that there have been a lot of mistruths. There were a lot of mistruths right here on this radio station. I tried to call in on several occasions. It seemed though my phone was blocked out, either my home number or from my cell phone. And I used to call in all the time, the 555-000. But it went straight to the answering thing. But then as I watched, everybody else was calling in. And so I went to calling the folks who called in something I knew. They said, well, I just dialed the number, and I said, oh, I got it now. But let me just tell you what's happening and what people need to understand. We are surrounded by Monroe County. Monroe County has 7% sales tax. Jones County has 7% sales tax. Houston County has 7% sales tax. Now, Houston County had the SPLOST and it was running out, and they voted it back in, so they did not lose anything, had a continuation. Now, they just built a $5.5 million Little League baseball park. They are hosting the regionals as well as some of the state finals in Little League as well as girls softball. Well, they can be proud. They're not fussing and fighting like we're doing. What they've gone on and done is to collect that extra penny and use that penny to build things. Now, a SPLOST and the service delivery are two different things. The SPLOST, you bring in money to do capital outlay, and you can do things like debt service, where the government is paying debt service on bonds that they have or equipment, those kind of things. But it can only be used for capital outlay. You can't pay salaries with it.
Okay,
period.
Just to make sure everybody knows, because a lot of people are not really political savvy. They don't know what SPLOST means. It means Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. That's what it stands for.
That's exactly what it stands for.
And it basically all it is that when you make a purchase, a penny is added on to your purchase, and that penny goes into the city coffers to be taken care of for the special
purposes. Well, it goes, the revenue department sends it back now. Now, you also have to understand it only lasts 6 years. Only lasts 6 years.
Okay, and now what exactly is the SPLOST? What is earmarked for the SPLOST?
All right, what you heard was an $85 million courthouse. That's all everybody's opposed. It's not 85, it's 83 million. And it's not one courthouse, there are 4 projects. Number one, you're talking about building that new courthouse for $43 million, a parking garage for $14 million. You're also talking about $11.7 million to renovate the 18th century courthouse that we have. I mean, that courthouse was built in the 1800s. We probably had about 35,000 folks in Macon at that particular time.
But I thought that just got renovated.
No, they were stopping the leak. The roof leaked. The roof was leaking.
Well, I mean,
when you saw all the scaffolds out there, I thought they were doing something too, but the roof was leaking. Now, Let me tell you something.
But they put in new doors and a lot of different cosmetic things on the courthouse. That wouldn't go in under the roof leak, though. I mean, they've made changes and spent money down there, Dave.
Well, when they did that, they had to. The roof was leaking, so water coming in. But let's face it, the county right now is paying $1 million lawsuit where an employee claimed that they were sick, and the courts ruled that his sickness came from the courthouse. Now, basically, that's asbestos and those kind of things. They paying $1 million lawsuit. Every city of our size, go to them and see what they call them government centers. They don't call them courthouses.
You're exactly right there. We're far behind times as far as the courthouse. And I mean, you know.
We got the courthouse down there. Welcome to Mayberry.
I mean, in Monroe, North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, their courthouse, and that's a small city in a pretty big county. Yeah. It just blows the one in Macon away. I mean, there's no doubt you go to the Bibb County Courthouse, you know.
Well, it was the easiest thing for them to pick on. Mm-hmm. Now, on this splash vote, you got to realize that all these recreation centers that we have, let's go to Memorial Gym, and y'all go over there. Go in where they play Memorial Gym. Go in the room where you play pool and ping pong. The ceiling is falling out. Mm-hmm. The tile floor is all up. But the city has no money to fix it. Go out to Freedom Park, the gym. Mm-hmm. They don't have air conditioning, but they have 3 big exhaust fans that pulls out the hot air and brings in whatever cool air you can get in there.
And on a day like this, you're not going to get any.
Well, but the kids out there playing basketball, mm-hmm. and guess what? They don't work. And I asked somebody about it, said, well, they ain't worked in a year. Now, what that says to me is that the city is on hard times, all government's on hard times just because of the economic challenges that we have. The state is on hard times.
And that's the thing, David. The common man looks at it this way, and we talked to Joe Allen about this. Yeah. The common man looks at it this way. Now, what you're telling me is all the neighboring counties have a 7% sales tax.
Except us.
Except we have a 6% sales tax. Right. But the way the common man looks at it is we're in a recession.
Yeah.
And you're trying to ask, even though it's a penny on the dollar,
right.
People just don't want to do it right now because it's just economic times are the worst I can remember seeing them in my lifetime. And people, do you understand where I'm coming from? It's a very difficult time to be asking for a splosh.
All right, but now what do you do if you don't get the splosh? 70% is paid outside of the corporate limits. That study was done by Georgia Tech, and the Board of Education paid for it when they were doing the e-laws. All right, let's just forget about the splosh. Let's don't do it. Mm-hmm. All right. The city just dealt with retirees trying to find money, and they're talking about cutting the folks who signed a contract to work for the city with the benefit package. And now they're cutting that benefit package when they can least afford it because they're on a fixed income now. Mm-hmm. But that was something they signed. That was a contract. Mm-hmm. Now, why would the city change in the middle of the stream? If we wanted to change something, vote it in, and for those who are coming in now, they would know exactly what they're going to work for and what their benefits are. That's just plain and simple. So I think that might be a lawsuit there. The other thing is we sell general obligation bonds. When we need things, we sell general obligation bonds, and then it's paid for out the trade. And they're 20, 30-year bonds. Now, the county kept the millage rate. I think it was 2 mills that they did not up it. Mm-hmm. And kept the county taxpayers at that. If you need money, and government operates off money, not water. Mm-hmm. If you need money, then you go to the route that you have to go, general obligation bonds. All right, if you go general obligation bonds, that's 20, 30 years down the road. If you pay for it, the debt service at the general treasury. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think happens to the general treasury when you deplete it? They up the millage rate. The millage rate, I mean, the only constant money that comes in to government is taxes.
Mm-hmm. That's the only way to do it.
So now, which would you prefer? Have 70, well, let's see, if you talk about 70, have part of it, you pay 30%, and folks outside pay 70%. And what people fail to realize that Bibb Countyans mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
have made things possible in Middle Georgia.